Good afternoon. Those who are in WebEx virtually, do you hear us? Can you allow them to? Yes, okay, good. My name is Sari Hanafi. I am the director of Center for Arab and Middle Eastern Studies. On behalf of the center, we are so honored to have today with us Fariba Adel Kha. Fariba, there is two ways of presenting you, formally or informally. So to give you justice, I will start by formally, if you like, but it's boring. You are a path-breaking Franco-Iranian anthropologist who made important contribution to a wide variety of topics around everyday life of ordinary people and migrant, and about religion in Iran, Afghanistan, United Arab Emirates, and Syria. You are a researcher currently in Center for International Studies, CIRI, based on Sciences Po in Paris. Your work, you publish a lot of books and articles. I will not cite all, but let me maybe highlight your some of her book is in French and then become in English, like Les mille frontières de l'Iran, quand le voyage forme la nation, and then translated 1001 Borders of Iran, Travels and Identity. So I will circulate this book, and of course your amazing first book. It was Revolution Under the Veil. So how how the woman life, everyday life, religiosity, appearance in the public spheres account in post-revolutionary Iran in 1979. I have known Fariba since we were students. So my path went to sociology, she went to anthropology, okay? So she did her first degree of French literature in Iran, and then Persian literature, and then she went to Strasbourg and then Paris, and myself also I went to Strasbourg and then to Paris. We have some commonality that both we are agent provocateur. So Fariba, it's refused from very minutes she conducted research to understand social research like white and black. So she is capable of describing very, I would say, problematic countries like Iran, like any problematic countries, authoritarian countries, I would say socially and politically, and how she can account for social life, social words there, with a complexity where she may say, I see some advance in women's rights here and there. I do remember, and I don't know if you remember, Fariba, in around 1992, we were invited to the same conference by Le Monde in a city called Le Mans. And it was, the title of this workshop is Au péril des islamismes. I mean, the danger of Islamism. So you don't, something like that. And it was really a kind of a liberal workshop where you have different voices. But Fariba, who really was angry against how the media in France portray Muslims in Europe. So she want to defend some kind of the right of being Muslim in Europe, but I mean not to take her for an Islamist. So she have a mini shirt. So just she get out of skirt. Sorry. She got out of the video, so you see me. You cannot say I am Islamist, and then she started talking.
I was young.
Yeah. Well, you're still young, and spirit and everything. So I would say her scholarship with so much nuance between these two spheres, political spheres and social spheres, that some of her colleagues in sociology in France, they thought, they talk about her like a complacent of Iranian regime. But these people, they were untouched by Iranian regime. It's her, he did 4.5 years prison. So she just came from prison for a few months ago, and she has an extremely beautiful, actually memoir / ethnographic book, Prisonnier à Tehran. La Seuil, it was out 2 months ago, and hopefully I understood from her it will be in English. For those who are interested in this book, tomorrow she will give a talk in French in Saint Joseph, in le campus de Sciences Humaines, there at 6 p.m. Fariba has amazing, and actually I forgot to say another commonality, that her, Roland Marchand, and myself, we wrote a book about Dubai. Each of us took Dubai from an angle. For her, the Iranian dweller there, Roland Marchand, the African migrant, and myself, the Palestinian migrant in Dubai. Okay, so having said all that, again, Fariba, we are so honored to have you, and you will talk. This is what I ask you to really to go through your trajectory. So the title will be the effects of the 1979 revolution on the practice of faith, how to discuss religion in Iran today. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this very nice, kind, and amicable, friendly invitation. I really appreciate to be here, to be in this very famous place I was dreaming about. It's not, my life has changed after 2019. Thanks to 2019, I became a famous person. I wasn't at all. Nobody was interested in my case. So there is kind of, we call it rente of prisonniers, is the rent of prisoners. So I am using it, and I am happy about it and to be here. Thank you. Thank you for being here, all of you, today. And the person who I do not see, anyway, I do not know, you will talk about that. I would have been very pleased to talk in Arabic, because without Tarov and without being apologetic, it's my favorite language. I really hope one day to be able to talk Arabic. And in order to start, I want to, because it's absolutely linked to my talk, I want to recite a poem I know, the only one I know, as in a Palestinian. as it says, إذا الشمس قرقت في بحر الغمام ومدت على الدنيا موج الظلام. The poem is long and then it finishes on يا سائر يا دائر يا أبو المفهومية ما فيش لك دليل غير عيون الكلام. So that is about kalam, and I am very keen about that, interested by it. So my way I talk about kalam. As you've seen, my in my abstract there is huge and challenging issues. It will be very difficult to deal with all of them. I will try in my introduction to say what do I mean about that. So it is the issue of religion, of anthropology, and of revolution, Iranian one, and you can imagine it's not easy. I'm going to be anthropologist, so very limited in my areas, in my way of doing research, and so I will try to share it with you. So first about religion, it refers for me to management. Managing your life, of course, but the life of others, it means relationship with others. Your life with interactions with others. As you know, all fuqaha, faqih, the doctor in religious jurisdiction, they are treating the issue of management of everyday life regarding to the rule of relationship with others. For example, the three very important chapter in the thesis of a faqih is about mu'amalat, negos. Is negos? No, mu'amalat. Mu'amalat. Negos. Business. Contract.
Yeah.
Contract. The rule of hygiene is taharat, and the relationship with God is ibadat. So there's a managing. I really take religion in very غالي paket, we call it, very materialistic way. So the way they are talking about, so is management. In that sense, the history of veil could be looked at as a history of management. The state management, of course, in public life, but also the women management of their own life, to the extent that one can say the movement of femme, vie, liberté, women, life, and liberty, is a very consequences of this management of entangled management that we can grasp. We can grasp it if we put aside the whole narrative on authoritarianism of a state who want to take on women because of Islamic ideology. So the issue of management. It does not mean that we have to neglect the authoritarianism or the domination on women, not at all. But just to remember that it is not the first time in the history that it happened. That is all history. That is all connected history is about. As Subramanian talk, or Oban or Denis Lombard talk about connected history, is just put aside the whole picture we have about authoritarianism and look inside that and to see how the life are connected inside authoritarianism. Women have always followed men, whatever the revolution we were in. Russian, Chinese, Iranian, of course, French. Don't forget that the French right for women to vote came after Turkish women. And we need to wait the socialist victory in 1981, the Mitterrand getting to the power, to modify the equilibrium between men and women in the parliament. Women were about less than 5% before 80s. Look, you are young. for you, 80s is very far. But for me, another generation, 80s, it was yesterday. So not without strong debates that divided the whole socialists about that. So we need more than a revolution to change the face of people anyway. And now, if I can say some more word about anthropology, for me it's a science of interaction between people, a science of power relationship. Religious anthropology is doing research on one issue that we, as human, we all have it in common, at least up to 19th centuries. And the development of social or human sciences start at 19. Before that, we all believe, in whatever the word you wear, we all believe that God has created the universe. But after 19, we started to think that humans are able to create universe and also the God. But religion and politics have always been going hand to hand. In some sense, we can say the legitimacy of the power comes from religious realm. Anthropology has got as method participant observation. So we put aside all this history and all this global way of talking about others by living with them, taking part in their community, and working in context. That is the key issue of anthropology. The context is very important, since history is important. Although it is past, but it is dealing with the current life that is not past at all. You can see, for example, because we are talking about, of course, is about Sunnism and Shia. So there were a conflict at the beginning, and this conflict, can come back and make part of the challenge of the life we are living in. Third, the revolution. So talking about the revolution is a way to condemn my talk anyway, but I would like to dare today with you. The revolution, what to say about it without being misunderstood or misinterpreted. But more than that, being equal to its fame. After all, it remains a red mark in our calendar. For many like me or my generation, was talking about this generation, we could have met in Strasbourg in 80s. We didn't. In 70s, at the end of 70s, we didn't. But at 80s, we met in Paris, so you can imagine this generation has another life, so please don't be so, try to be tolerant. Anyway, that is the talk of my generation. For many like me or my generation, it is a proudness. Also, the time is coming to hate it and to seek its leader to blame. In fact, a revolution is not responsible about what is coming after that. How could it be? Really, revolution cannot be responsible of what the time, as a chronology, revolution is there, but the regime which come after that is nothing to do with that. This regime has to do a lot with the revolution, but the revolution has nothing to do with that. It is not the regime that comes after who decides about the nature of the revolution. All the more, it was a very characteristic movement of that period we were living. I mean, the period of 70s, very characteristic. It was absolutely not very special revolution. I mean, characteristic of that period, I mean that it was anti-imperialism, anti-monarchism, and what no one remembers, and it is my main challenge today with you, it's anti-traditionalism, even with regard to its religious character and religious will and claim and all these things. The three objectives of revolution have been, we can say, achieved. Anti-imperialism, the Iranian started after the Japanese thinking, desiring, expecting to join the modernity without getting rid of their particularities and specialities and characters, own characters. This time it's become absolutely the most important trend in the world. We want all to join capitalism, as say Maurice Godolia, but we want to mark this trend, this life with our particularism. So the three objectives of the revolution have been achieved. Of course, it does not anticipate about the justice, neither democracy. These issues need more than breaking through of a revolutionary movement. They need planifications. They need leaders. I mean, democracy and justice and all this. They need leaders. And more than that, they need participations. Participations, as you know, maybe not. I have a professor, Maxime Rodinson, who was enjoying to repeat all the time that the life is a bloody battlefield. He was telling it in another word. It was telling, la vie n'est pas une longue fleuve tranquille, mais c'est une longue fleuve sanglante. So it's a bloody battlefield. So for changing things, we need participation, not representation only, because we talk about democracy and representation of the people in the parliament. We need participation, so something else. But the revolution, no, we do not need that. We just take part of to it and claiming what we want, and there is some alchemy that a sociologist or anthropologist cannot really grasp in any. We can never understand the revolution because we can never understand why that time, not 10 years before, 10 days before, not 10 days after. But the moment it happens, it's something that absolutely we cannot manage it. A revolution is not a diagnostic of an anthropologist. I want to say anthropologist is kind of handicraft, we can say. I do not know whether I can talk about intellectual, I'm not. So we just put things together, trying to make the meaning of that. So I'm not Madame Soleil to look at a globe and to say what is going on tomorrow. So there is no diagnostic on the revolution when it happens. It's not my knowledge, so I just put it aside. So I absolutely understand what does mean participation and what can claim what is behind this word anyway. And now if I want to come back to the religious character of the revolution, many talk about the return back of the religion. It seems that for some people, religion had stopped in some years, I think about 60 and 70s. It is a political movement, I just do not want to talk about this political movement. It's about taking our desire for reality. So in 60 and 70, we was talking about religion in private sphere and politics in public sphere, in some kind of division of task. We are in the world who are the big man, the political, the most famous man in the world, the American, are talking about union for progress. So everybody believe on that. So people say, oh, okay, there is no religion, so it's a matter of private life. The religion and its theme was no more a concern for believer in public sphere, and it was making part of the private life. Disjunction between a public life and a private life. You are far from Ibn Arabi, or just Jindu, joined both of them. Other like Nikki Kadi I appreciate a lot because she's an historian of Qajar, 19th century. She was thinking that there is no more possibility to talk about the religion as far as the Islamic Republic is there. It seems mixing with the power make the religion less a normal and natural religion as it was expected to be. A kind of degenerated, deviated issue it became after the revolution. So it wasn't possible to study religion. Here you can see the view of religion we have is just a kind of homogeneous entity, nothing go inside. This it just try of just put color on our life because something that is very different of us. So its action is it comes because religion, and I do not understand as an anthropologist. So anyway, that's a speculation. So historians have demonstrated that some modern experience has its origin in religious practices. I'm not going to expand on, but maybe on the talk. For example, suffragette movement at the end of Victorian period in England has their origin in churches. And the movement of contestation, of the movement of social movement of Jacques, J-A-C, and Georges, J-O-C, Jeunesse ouvrière chrétien, in Bretagne, in France, has, between the two wars, has their origin in religion, in churches. So you have very modern movement that rise from religious area. So that it was for my introduction. And let me just coming back to the religious anthropology, what is this for me, which is managing movement these days, managing movement, circulation, transformations. It hasn't been like that always. We are not condemned always to have one set of interrogation or question. Recently, I was attending a talk of someone on Algeria, FLN. It was fantastic. It was a talk on archive on 60s and 70s. It was fantastic. There was no mention of Islam in her talk because simply it was no mention of Islam at that period. So please don't think you are condemned to hear about Islam every time. Islam is there because it's answer to some interrogation we have, question we have, and help to go far. It's not to lock us in a frame of duty and responsibility and the life after the death and all these things. Even it's common to human to think about the death. It's fantastic. We are about 10,000 society in the world. I mean, society is not nation, you know. So you can have 40 family in Amazonia, and you can have 1,400,000,000 inhabitants in China. So when we talk about society, we talk about a homogeneous area. People think about something. People live together. Even to be in contradiction and in war makes them joining more together, as we say in Quranic way. What is that he says? اختلاف أمتي رحمة. It's not Quranic, maybe it's Hadith. Sorry, my knowledge in Islam is very limited. I left Iran when I was 18, so I really wasn't in the area of Islamic Republic to be knowledgeable on Islam. Sorry. So 10,000 societies. And there is one thing they are sharing together, and that is death and the life after the death. And it's fantastic, because the life after the death is something that nobody can master, really. And it's always something that just we look at it with a lot of respect. Whatever you believe on, one God or 10, one soul or 32 as Buddha, whatever you think about paradise or incarnation, whatever that, but you always think about death and the way your life become to reach an end. So for me these days, because I'm talking about, I would like to just present you one case study, is religious is managing movement, circulation, transformation. As I told you, it hasn't been always like that, and we are not condemned to hear all the time. So that is anthropology, which try to make sense of what is this movement with all this claim. It's a whole movement that encompass the whole movement and go through the claim people have. Okay. So as I'm talking about movement, circulation, and transformation, so as just few history references I'm going to give you, and then to come to my case study on pilgrimage, and with nice photo. You will not be more condemned to bear my very bad English anyway. It will be photos and more, is it okay and understandable? So some reference to the history that help to understand better this management of movement, circulation, and transformation. First of all, in Iran, all the travel of religious clergy that were always, what we call arc of Shiism is start from India and go to the Lebanon. So, but this arc of Shiism is arc of movement and circulation of ulama. What was happening in this area of Iran with this ulama who was sitting in Atabad in Iraq, or in Bombay, or Calcutta, or in Istanbul. So first of all, they took part of the what we call regime of revolt, the movement of tabak. Regime is just the nationalization of tobacco. I do not know the tobacco.
Yeah, tobacco.
Tobacco. Oh, sorry. Thank you. In 1891, and we have also constitutional revolution that was managing from Najaf and Istanbul by clergy in 1906. Up to the revolution, Iranian revolution, 1979. You have maybe heard about that we have always talk about Khomeini, but it's not a matter of Khomeini. The leader of this revolution came from outside, a student in America, a confederation in America, a student, Islamic student, and Imam Khomeini, who was in Najaf and then left Najaf to go to Paris, and just 1 year before, so in somehow I am talking about something is very national, but was managing from outside because of all this circulation among ulama and fuqaha and doctor in law and all these things. There is something maybe less less known, is when Imam Khomeini was in Najaf, he was in touch with a minority that nobody have heard talking about them, was the Afghan. In fact, the whole reputation of Imam Khomeini at that period was Afghan student that helped relationship with Iranian society, because they had not the same problem that Iranian in Iran with the sabak, with the mukhabarat of Iran anyway. So that is another issue of talk, but I'm not going in. After Iran, I would like to say how Afghan has used also their circulation, their movement in favor of their getting to the power. I mean, Afghan Hazara. They use their movement by importing Iranian religious school to Afghanistan. They created a kind of atmosphere that is absolutely they took advantage of this school to come to the power, because who talk about religion, talk about development of school, development of religious gathering, development of course, most important thing, development of civil society. So the Hazara Afghan got to the power by importing the Iranian model of religiosity or religion to Afghanistan. And the third one example, I think you know better than do I, is Musa Sadr in Lebanon. That he was an Iranian that came to Beirut and founded the movement of Amal and then the Hezbollah. But Hezbollah is making part of national spectrum, political spectrum of Lebanon today. I do not really share all this fuss on the Hezbollah like being dependent proxy of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Anyway, so ulama and movement and all these things make at the service of national movement and national claims anyway. And in a very prosaic, we can say, as Jean-François Bayart talked, as is le mode populaire d'action politique is a popular mode of political action of people. We can say that religion just, share with the modernity all concern it has. First of all, religious gathering religious pilgrimage was a place that all these different groups get together. Different group between Shia and Sunni just become a place of hybridization, cultural and religious hybridization, for example. And the second is and how the religion help the businessmen, Iranian Shia businessmen, to invest in Iraq, in Syria, or somewhere else. I'm not at all supporting all these trends, all this movement has created, but it is important to know that this movement exists to understand better why it does work. The third thing is how belonging to Shiism for Hazara give them the possibility to join the military section in Iranian in Republic Islamic of Iran. And the remittances, social remittances of migrants are very important also, because that help family gathering, religious gathering, and the development of all these things. So I'm not going to expand on too much. So financing institution, religious institution, or local institutions anyway, by these remittances. What I want to conclude with this movement, and very quickly said, is what Michel de Certeau said, that it is impossible in a religious practices to separate what is belonging to God, what is belonging to everyday life, anyway, the triviality of the everyday life. Um, and we can, if I can just make a first conclusion, this experience of migrant is founded, Islam is founded on this experience of migration. The time of Mecca is very separate, the time of Medina. So it seems that willing migrate, willing to get in touch with outside of the geography, national geography, make part of all the Islamic ideology anyway. So you, by leaving your country, by getting together with other nation, I mean, you feed the whole idea, religious idea too. And in that sense, my last, before end, conclusion is how religious gathering or religious movement, it is at the service of national identity, national revendication, and all these things. So now I'm coming to the case study I have prepared to present you. The case study on Deuil et gloire de l'Imam Hussein, we can say. It is on glory and, sorry? Grief, thank you very much.
Well, mourning.
Mourning, yeah.
Mourning.
Glory and mourning, yes, you can say. I am. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, it's not this one. Sorry. Intervention. Morning. Okay. Yeah, there is an abstract. Maybe you know it, but I would rather to read it again for you. There's abstract for mourning and glory of Imam Hussein. That was a trip to Iraq, and just to better seize the reason for what people are getting together, and to maybe try to get rid of all this idea of Shiism arc and the completist way of thinking, and not to get in consideration what we call connected history. It means something more interesting for us as anthropologists, that something is making sense inside. That is nothing to do with transcendency, but it has a lot to do with the life we have, and its desire, claim, and demand anyway. What we call Arba'in celebration is a pilgrimage which take place 40 days after the death of Imam Hussein. This will be very short. I know that when you are reading something is absolutely not very amazing for you. But I'm going to show a lot of photos very soon. You just wait about, time is going very fast. Is okay? So it is a pilgrimage which takes place 40 days after the death of Imam Hussein on the holy place of Iraq. And it brings together some 20 million Shiite pilgrims every year, including 2 million Iranian in 2016, when I did my field work. Its economic and strategic dimension have become notable. A number of actors in the Islamic Republic are involved in what has become a vicinity mass tourism, which is very different from that Iranian was used to it to Saudi Arabia, we call Hajj, or those to Western country whose visa is the most difficult these days and very expensive to reach. These actors are coming from different realms, some of them from the public sphere, public sector, while others come from private or informal economy. Some of them are political actors, while others are religious. Urban pilgrimage develops a practical and economic expertise of traveling. The result is a multitude of connections between the Iranian pilgrims, some of them coming from the diaspora, and the Iraqi society. Moreover, the holy places of Iraq witnessed the deployment of Iranian national and revolutionary iconography around the central figure of Imam Hussein. Al-Arba'in is an imaginary figure based on the indiscernibility of the real and unreal. And the case is a fantastic book of Maurice Godelier. The meeting point of faith, Arba'in is the meeting point of faith, politics, and self-realization. So, inseparable between faith, politics, and self-realization. The pilgrimage to the holy sites of Iraq. Oh, sorry, I did this paper with Shahide Nurullahian because we did this trip together with her family, of course, and it was a great moment I had. So, what is about mourning and glory, grief and glory of Imam Hussein? The term Shiite arc is often used for specifying relations between the Islamic Republic of Iran and Iraq. Since the overthrow of Saddam Hussein in 2003, a Shiite arc or Shiite axis, which would dominate Tehran, to which are hanging the minorities of this allegiance in the region, in Pakistan, Afghanistan, Lebanon, including some area in Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Bahrain. That is the belief we have. So. But to understand the exchanges and alliances that are developing on this scale, would it not be better to give priority to the issue of connected history? As I told you, borrowed from Sanjay Subramanian. And which unties concrete, circumstantial, fragmentary, heterogeneous between different society rather than one, which is the story, the whole narrative of complotist manipulation of the Shia by the Islamic Republic of Iran. To be honest, I'm not telling really I disagree or agree, but I'm an anthropologist. I'm just lost in translation when I am in this kind of the discourse on people, you know, to see Islamic Republic able to manage, to manipulate like that. It's just, yeah, fantastic, you know. It should be very far now these days, but they are not. But anyway, in particular, the diplomatic and militarized war between Tehran and Riyadh at that time, it was on 2016. The diplomatic and militarized war between Tehran and Riyadh in Iraq, Syria, Yemen, in Lebanon, in Palestine must not obscure the economic war that is being waged in the region, particularly on the banks of Euphrates since the American occupation in 2003 in the field of land and religious tourism. The consumer society to which the Islamic Republic does not derogate promoted for 2 or 3 decades a mass proximity tourism under the guise of pilgrimage, whose holy places in Iraq have been the major beneficiary given their symbolic importance for the Shiite and also because of the civil war in Syria, which makes inaccessible the sanctuary of Damascus, which were very frequented before. The issue of connection, though, as for connected history, the issue of connection seems all the more relevant as Iran is present in the Gulf, and particularly in Iraq, not as a homogeneous actor, but in the form of a set of institutions or network local, such as the powerful Waqf, Astana Quds, the Soy Sakhe we call it, or front of reconstruction of sacred cities, Setad Basazi Atabad. Various government, administrative or municipal bodies, person private, commercial or simple volunteers without underestimating the competition between large cities, the clerical institution, and military bodies of the Islamic Republic with a view all to a market of 2 or 3 million pilgrims per year. In addition, the Mu'awad, the Iraqi of Iranian or Afghan origin, driven out by Saddam Hussein regime at the end of 60 and at the beginning of 70, had redeployed in the Gulf, notably in Dubai, and then in Levant, around the Shia holy sites in Damascus. The Syrian civil war has put their establishment at risk, while the overthrow of power in favor of Shiite parties in Iraq has opened up prospect for them to return in their country of origin. They contribute to the development of pilgrimage tourism and seek recover the property, including land, that they were robbed of during their eviction. These opportunities, economic and the inevitable legal dispute they entail, constitute a dimension, very important dimension of the game in the region. In this context, the celebration of Ashura, the 40 days of mourning of Imam Hussein on the Atabat, the holy places of Iraq known as Arba'in, by some 20 million pilgrims, all nationalities, including more than 2 million Iranians, is a major phenomenon, and it goes beyond the simple anthropology of the religious fact. To the extent that a pilgrimage is an experience all religious, moral, affective, or even passionate, but also physical, in short, an existential experience that makes you growing, and it grows with you, with the believers, has implication and a lot of investment. So, sorry, my sentence was not good, but you understood that the experience of existence that make the believer invest have a lot of implication in the sphere where they inhabit. The best for me to understand was to go and to see for myself what it was about and slip into this theme of Pius Walker moving step by step toward heaven. So now I am going to share with you and to bring you with myself to this step-by-step journey. So step by step to heaven. So in fact, the Arba'in is preparing the people to get to the heaven, where we are. And here is a soft you have in order to let you to get into the travel. So Arba'in is a God and all these things, so you get to the heaven by a software. It's a fantastic, I think it's magnificent. So I think I am going to, okay. Ashura is a matter of a style. So as maybe you can see. So after this soft salam that give access to the map of the road, song, praise, and all these things, and a lot of information, what place to visit, the sublime advice in matter of prayer also, the best prayer. One can also use Telegram, which is subscribed to by some 30 million Iranians. So Ashura as a matter of style. The style of the commemoration of Ashura, the martyrdom of Imam Hussein and his family, encircled at Karbala by the troop of Yazid, 680s and 683. The second Umayyad Caliph from 6 to 10 of the of the month of Muharram in the year of 61 of Hijri, has always been very minimalized. I mean, in contrast to the intense emotion it arouses, what we have is a very little thing. First of all, as you can see, we have just this a poem. Okay, I'm going to be very, okay. Just a poem that is written here. It's about grief. And the hand and all this, that is really, when you see that in Iran, you just think about Imam Hussein, you just think about Ashura, and you think about injustice that they suffered, and you think about their fate. So that is the only thing that helps you. So it's contemporary graphic. Okay, I have not hand to be very, okay. Its contemporary graphic representation remains faithful to this spirit of Tazia. So what you can see, this the way the Tazia is based on this gathering, this last gathering of Imam Hussein with his family. So they put in a stage this relationship between Imam Hussein, her sister, her daughter, her family, her brother, her analysis. So its contemporary graphic representation remains faithful to this spirit of Tazia. Its popular dramaturgy, which the clerics and the Islamic Republic remains suspicious, but continues to reinvent itself by inspiring young people a form of pop rap pious, even devout carnival, during procession, celebration, or recitation of the praise. So I think that is a kind of marjan satrapi, I think, that come. But here is, again, the Tazia. This, again, the still of Tazia and the talk they have. They are looking for water, so every time the same thing. Ashura is celebrated with little things. For example, a black and white fabric and in rectangular, evoking a poem always the same. What is this tumult? What is this affliction? And the image of a horse with or without his horseman are enough to immerse you in the ritual. But the iconography contemporaine, okay, this wasn't translated, is contemporary iconography show other things to you, help you to immerse to another area. So you have the painter and you have all this iconography which is modern. Some of them is a copy or inspired by Christian art, and others by artists, modern artists. Like that, you can see Imam Hussein always surrounded by all these people. So that this is the modern way of talking about grief, thinking about this grief. So this one, I think you can find some imagery in Musée du Louvre. Some of them were absolutely inspired by, I'm going faster, sorry.
Yeah, we need to wrap up that's 7 minutes.
Yes,
yeah, okay.
I'm going to be. That and the honor for Iranis, for Shia, is always having the word of Charles Dickens about Imam Hussein. So it's always interesting to not be alone, to believe on something, and other religious believer can comfort you in this idea. So it's interesting. Pilgrims on the way. So that is the whole idea. After you have, okay, sorry, thank you. Now the pilgrims in on the way. Every year, since 2004, 1 year after the fall of Saddam Hussein regime, this symbol brings millions of Iranian pilgrims on foot in 2 to 5 days. The distance between Najaf and Karbala, about 80 kilometers. So you can, of this information you have to know how to get there. Organize it in mass tourism, even religious, by real tour operator on the public-private partnership. The Arba'in becomes a brand, bringing together men and women from all generations and social condition, a little on the model of Benetton. So you can, it doesn't work? Sorry. Oh, yes, this is Benetton for me, very, very interesting. Okay. In accordance with the fairly new age repertory of personal achievement that prevails in Islamic Republic to the conduct of life of Iranian being in society, modern society, the Arba'in is at the service of well-being of the body and self-realization. It appears as a month of mobilization during which institutions, organizers, pilgrims, orators, orants, artists, poets, children compete over everything and nothing. For example, in the form of drawing or a storytelling contest offered to students. Yeah,
Yes.
it's okay.
Yes.
No, it's okay. You can go on. That is very good.
Yeah.
That is all. You can, okay. Okay. That is the competition they are. Caricature also compete in different competitions, so you follow what I'm saying and you can go. It's okay. Now you go. Caricatures also compete in different competition. The storytellers are also part of it, and they are awarded. The photograph reminds us that the experience of religion is reserved for men, even if many women celebrated the Arba'in. You see no women among all these storytellers. And then, yeah, that is good. An 80-kilometer pilgrimage on foot in the heat of Mesopotamia, at least since 2004, counts given the lunar calendar that is not fixed and changed year after year. And it is synonymous with suffering. And in the first place, planter bulbs with it, which it is to prevent right and to cure left. So you just put it on the, you are a little bit farther. Okay. As you can see, maybe that is, oops. Okay.
This is big.
Okay, sorry. It's bigger, okay. Which is to prevent it, all you have to prevent in the right and to cure in the left. It is interesting because you are pilgrims and you can be interested to see what is what the pilgrims is inhabited in. So, uninformed pilgrims is worse too. He must have good shoes to fly. So, it's not just the God who helps. So, have the good shoes to fly. Clockwise from right to left, say, the right shoes has nothing to do with its price or shape. You have to follow the following instruction. It must be light, not too large. So I pass, you can read it. You have to try it 2 weeks before the trip so that the feet adapt. If your pair of shoes is a little annoying today, it will cause you trouble or even blister during your trip. Take shoes that already fit your feet. If you opt for slipper, choose the most flexible. Preferably use leather shoes. Have a pair of slippers with you in addition to your shoes. They will be useful for bathing or during your ablution. Avoid shoes that bother you. So, as you can see, the pilgrim, the believer is taking in charge by all this information that help you a well-being. The well-being of the mind goes hand in hand with that of the body. The trousseau de l'Arba'in. Underwear must be, oh, you are at the end. There is no trousseau de l'Arba'in? Okay.
I don't know where is it.
Oh, you
Yeah, you like this? Where we come?
just before.
Yeah, before.
The trousseau de l'Albain was just very, oh, a little bit more. That is the way you find it. I think, okay, it's okay. It should be there, maybe. Underwear must be made of cotton to absorb.
Can we wrap up now?
Yeah.
So, okay.
Oh, okay. So I'm not going to read these things because it's the man with two open-handed. Oh, just okay. Okay. I'm just going to sum up.
To conclude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The content of Love Backpack. So it was interesting, and all these photos that you are, what the pilgrims need to walk to the heaven. It's interesting how to balance your backpack. So it's interesting that all the fuss on the backpack you have, how to manage things inside, and what to put inside when you are going to step to the paradise. So it's interesting, all these. Okay. I just sum up that all these things, very practical information that the pilgrims are going to Karbala with that. And then another thing I wanted to say when you was looking at all this map we have. These maps are not very usual. You know, Iranian tourists are not very used to all this map. But was it interesting? The map was. We can say the reform of the map was used during the war Iran-Iraq. So you have this way of to re-invite new area, that is the area of peace when pilgrims go there. And then it was the telephone. If you come to telephone, it's the whole connection, that because you have telephones at your services, and also all this possibility to get to inform your family, to get together with your family through phone. So you are in an area that you get to the paradise, and at the same time you just get together with your family, just give news about you. The selfies, and you can say a necessary instrument of social distinction. They are very, very. Very interesting thing for the tourism. And purchasing religious souvenir, small clay stone, as you can see, and a lot of things, rosary, books, textile. And also what is important is to buy the dress of eternity. That is fantastic. So you buy your dress of eternity in this kind of... How do you say?
The coffin?
Coffin, yes,
yeah.
Exactly. You saw it, I think. Okay. And the exchanges, so you can legitimacy for changing money anyway, but you do not need to change really your money when you are in Iraq, but you need to, when you are in Syria, but you need to change it when you are in Iraq. So and the declaration that having Arba'in without dollar, so you have also very political way to do this pilgrimage, and also you attend. If you come a little bit earlier, I'm going to really finish to attend the history of the region when you are walking through this. When you are doing your pilgrimage. So you have the photos of Sadat, of Mossadegh, which is nationalistic history, and you have, of course, the photo of Sadr. And so there is acquaintance with the history, past history of the region anyway. So I'm going faster.
Wrapping up.
Yes.
The conclusion, yeah.
Okay. My conclusion. So I am going to. There is one conclusion that helped. That is a very interesting book of Jean-François Bayart, who was working on gift giving, le don we call it in France, in French. Sorry. So he was talking about phenomenon social total, as we call it in France, but you call it total social phenomenon of Marcel Mauss. So from this point of view, this concept of total social phenomenon covered in a masterful stroke the way in which gift-giving as a cultural, economic, legal, and political practice at the same time must not give rise to religious over-interpretation, which would obscure the pursuit of various interests on the part of the protagonist. Nor a form, you should also avoid a form of vulgar materialism, which would not take into account what Max Weber called the intrinsic logics of belief. The aesthetic and emotion constitutive of the gift is, for me, constitutive of pilgrimage, as most recall it. Each illustrates this undissociability in this the sociability of gratuitousness and self-interest at the heart of the exchange. So, for me, at the heart of the pilgrimage. The use of this concept of total social phenomenon, which has fallen somewhat into disuse after its initial work, should allow us to penetrate the combinatory that have developed in front of our eyes between the mobilization of religious repertory and the implementation of highly political strategies. And politic for me as anthropologist is relationship between people. It means, in a way Foucault talked about is the action on the action. So exchange relationship. Thank you so much. And if I say just one thing more, is for me, when I talk about anthropology, I can talk about religion. It's a kind of religion, because is there any other way to release or to get to freedom, if not the way to give you access to the knowledge? That is the knowledge I wanted to talk about, knowledge of pilgrimage. Sorry.
Thank you so much, Fariba.
I am actually, just sorry to be long, because it's
no. It's really fine, and it's amazing how you took us first to the foundation of anthropology of religion and how to understand religion in anthropological way. And how religion is so powerful, is more powerful than the nation state, that the travel and the mobility of the ulama impose a total fact even. I mean, the pilgrimage as a total fact, this capability of transgressing what the nation state say. And then it's very interesting in your conclusion to show that, in fact, it's useless to show how politics manipulate religion or vice versa. I mean, you should see how spheres interact, the religious spheres with political spheres, economic spheres, social spheres, and the beautiful example of pilgrimage where all this intersects. And we see like a tourism, like a kind of a secular tourism recipe, but it's the pilgrimage. I mean, all the details you brought, but in fact they are on the basis of belief and faith. So, with this, try to bring a few words. So I would like to open the floor for discussion. And so I will have a 3, and then we will take 3 by 3. Okay, Fariba?
I am
okay. So let me start like this. Okay, Giselle?
I want to start by thanking you for your presentation.
Can you please use the microphone? Yeah, because of people virtually with us. Okay, go ahead.
I want to start by thanking you for your presentation and your time. It was very interesting. I have a few questions that I thought of after reading your chapter on the road to Damascus. So my first question has to do with your role as a researcher. I was wondering, to what extent did you allow your either preconceived notions or positionality as a researcher and an individual to guide your experiences or observations? How did they either limit them or maybe change them, like a shift in your previous understandings? The second thing I'm interested in is whether it has to do with the moral economy, and whether it was the moral economy that, or the conception of the moral economy that shaped the collectivities and actions that occurred, or whether it was the opposite. And yeah, I'm interested in whether it was the conception of the moral economy that shaped the collectivities that happened in the pilgrimages, or whether it was the opposite way, like their conception of the moral economy or the woman's conception of good and justice is what shaped their organization. And the third thing, my third question, sorry, is to what extent does nostalgia play a role in the shaping of nationalism, particularly if the experiences they faced was one of transnational practices or traveling abroad, for example?
Thank you, Giselle. Yeah, Ilham, our dear students from Iran. Yeah, so you have the floor, Ilham.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Adakha. But I have lots of comments on your presentation. Actually, during the presentation, I checked two quotes from Mossadegh and also Mark Twain, which both are fake. These are not true. You talk about Afghans, which I want to mention that, like, the Islamic regime in Iran use Afghans as Lashkar Fatemiyun, like army of Fatemiyun, that they fight in Syria against people, which was like shame for us to kill people in Syria. About Hezbollah, you mentioned that, like, Hezbollah don't do the same as Iran regime that they do, because also I can mention the speech of Nasrallah about LGBTQs here, that they put them in lots of trouble in Lebanon. About the wall, what we had, like painting on the wall after revolution, when the war started, the regime of Iran tried to control even the walls, and all the paints came to the wall. It was based on the situation of Iran during the war, and they took public sphere in even the wall. So wall was it wasn't part of the power that people had right to write on it. It was power of the government. About this the speech that you talk about, this Arbain, I was in Arbain in 2016 as journalist, and it's like you said, 2 million of people are going to Arbain, which is like, as Iranian are 85 million, 2 million is nothing, and we have to know that the huge governmental budget is going to this governmental actually ceremony, because it's like actually it's political, not like something that there are lots of things going. You don't have any access to public transportation anywhere in Iran, because at that moment all the public transportation is going to that area to just moving travelers between Iran and Iraq. And I have one more comment about in your book being. Yeah, sure. In your book, Being Modern in Iran, published in 1998, you received both praise and criticism, especially for portraying Iran modernity through state-led religious and bureaucratic systems, while often overlooking the violence and control behind them. Despite serious critique on your approach to the Islamic Republic, critics that question the way you work downplayed state repression, you did not revise or reconsider your position. As an anthropologist, this is raises ethical concerns not only about the content of your work, but about your responsibility to acknowledge the live realities your narration affects. Still in 2019, you said that compulsory hijab, forced hijab, doesn't exist in Iran in a speech, and in an interview, sorry, and that clerks in Qom were defending democracy. But later, in your own accounts from Evin prison during the protest, you described how women resistant forced hijab in the prison. So, sorry, I don't know French, so I mean, I have to do it here. I didn't finish yet, sorry. So clearly it was being enforced. You also claimed you never witnessed the torture of women, yet several of your cellmates like Sakine Parwane or Nilufar Bayani, publicly they talk about it, and they said that they suffered from violence that they had in Evin prison, the prison that you were in. You talk about innovation, transformation in this.
Ilham, you said many things.
I mean,
sorry,
let her. These are the things
No,
that
no,
I have to say.
No,
And as Iranian, I have priorities here. Sorry.
Sorry, but I think I think you raise many issues that deserve reply.
Okay.
Is if you come to make a political speech, I think
It's
this is
not
another
political.
story.
Actually,
So
it's like,
okay, so you have the
ethnographic,
please,
ethnographic.
we give you the floor. You raise many questions. Excellent, thank you so much. I mean, let her reply, please.
So thank you for what you've mentioned. I just want to ask, when you mentioned about Sayyid Musa Sadr, because he's an important political religious figure in Lebanon. So you said you're not supporting this. So can you clarify what do you meant by, like, he's Iranian, he came here and he tried to attract youth for military purposes. So if you clarify just this point, thank you.
You have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sarjan. And the first I would like to say is about what you said about politics and religion, and sometimes religion can be more stronger than politics. What I would like to say is, between religion and politics, they went hand in hand all these centuries. You know, the legitimacy of the power was in the hand of the religious people, so in the history, I mean. And for me, the religion and politics has the same, has the same way, has three things in common. The community is very important between politics and religion. Both of them are for occupying field. Both of them, religious authorities and political authorities, want to occupy the field. So there is the desire to be there and to enlarge their sphere. The second thing, both of them try to give a sense to what is the vérité, the reality, the justice, you know. Both of them talk about people, you know, just defending, supporting. Okay, these days it's not the case of Trump, neither to Macron, but anyway, in their sense, they are coming to the power because the people ask them. So the sense of vérité, the justice, the reality, is both of them are interested in and to develop, expand on. The third thing is both of them, religion and politics, they are interested by charismatic figures. So for me, really, when I am talking about one as issue of management, I can talk about the other. So I was talking about religious sphere, so that's why I was focusing. But we can really think about it as a concept of parallelism and competitions. That is very important, so thinking about that. That is sorry, I was clear?
Yeah.
And for your first question, the third I didn't write because my hand didn't help, but you will repeat it. Religions for me, really I'm not going to answer this. I think we never asked it to historians, to journalists, to other people. What is your faith to talk about what you are doing? I do not have any faith. I'm just anthropologist, and you should take it like it is and accept or reject that. You can discuss my conclusion, my debate, but you can really not ask about my faith. I haven't any. I am just anthropologist. I am researcher and very proud of it. But moral economy make part, that is analysis, make part of religiosity. You know, for Smith, moral economy came through classe ouvrière, worker class. So it is just not one part, it's just materialistic, it's just something else. It is something else which interests me. So when you are talking about religious, you are in something else, but I'm interested by materiality. So I'm doing it in reverse of Smith. So moral economy for religion, is make part of the logic in which people are dealing with each other. So that is the analysis I'm doing. And the third, I didn't write it. I thought I am going to keep it, so I'm sorry, really. Your third question?
Personal, as for my first question, usually I'm always thinking about whether a researcher in general, I don't want to say subjectivities, but any part of who they are as a researcher, maybe they go in, or whether they leave everything aside before entering their field, especially for an ethnographer and anthropologist. So I apologize for the first question.
Can I clarify, Giselle? If you like
I need to apologize. It's a very good question, really. I just give you my
No, but really there is a two tradition, I would say. American tradition, positionality is very important. I mean, if you want to, not necessarily to say whether you are religious or not, but it depends on the topic. If I write about the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, I should say I grew up in a refugee camp, etc., etc. It's not in a defensive way, if you like. It's not to say I am sorry, I am refugees and I'm biased against the Israelis. But I mean, it's a duty toward the readers to know a little bit about me, if you like. In this meaning, the positionality, if you like, so.
Yeah, but in this meaning, really. Oh, sorry. I just, okay, my first claim is you should talk ideas but not position. But in order to, I was growing up in Shia society. So how I define myself, I am Shia by culture. So that's the only thing I can say. And the second, I think, is the one thing. And the second thing is, I really am not laicist, we call it. Laicist, you know, battling. Yeah, battling myself for. So I'm not in a form of activist, laïc. But, okay, it says the separation of the two is something I'm very interested in, of the two, religion and politics. So anyway, that is my, and for the other, I don't really, all this question about religion, I put it the second century of my life when I come back one day, who knows, after my death. So I will be working on religion and coffee, faith, or all this psychology, something like that. So I will be interested, but all I cannot touch it. For me, what is interesting is what I'm doing as researcher is things you can touch, is grasp it, talk. There is no conceptual and extrapolation, as we call it. So all make part of, as I told you at the first, I am kind of handicraft. So I put things together and try to read it and to share this reading with you. And that is for making debate. That is what I'm interested in. So your third question, think about it, and then I will be back. For Elham, John, thank you for your question too. I'm not in true and false. I'm not, when I meet religious people, I don't mind about what they are telling me, the reality or fake, or I'm not interested. What is interesting is how they are dealing with their environment. So I don't take really a position on that. You say the two things was false. I'm not interested, but what is interesting, they want these things said by tell person, that. And they put this, why they need to put these things to the discourse of Mossadegh. Is it true? Is it? I'm not interested. For them, it's interesting to have Mossadegh with them, so that is important. So, you do not want to make part of the minorities. You want to make part of the history. The history they want, they adhere to, and they, to join them. So that is the way. And the issue of shame also is something I can really not talk about that. So, what is the shame? I'm not this judgment on all this way of the history they are living, the things they are claiming. I try to understand. Really, my only job is try to understand why it becomes so important. I am not looking for, these days with the mass media, what in 24 hours you are in virtual, all this information you receive, how many of them are correct or not fake? Or so. You are just living with all these things because you do your best to get most of it. And really, I am not separating things like that. And now put aside true, false, shame or not shame. So that's the way people are talking to you. But for war, here I think I find you a little bit unjust. If I had to use a word like you, incorrect. But I do not use it. But if I wanted to be you. The war was an affair of national. It was after one year after the revolution, Iran is attacked by Iraq and enter in a war. And you are in revolutionary atmosphere. Everybody make part of it. If the regime became successful, exactly it's because nobody wanted to ask any question, but just push to the border in order to, just save what was the territory, nationalism, or integrity of the Iranian nation and all these things. At that time, when people wanted to marry, even the leftists, because I had a lot of friends, contrary to my appearance, the leftist people didn't want to make marriage because it was war, You are unjust because it was another time and you were not there, really. To understand the grief of the people that at that period. And it was a very good moment for the regime to make most of it, to eliminate all his opposition, because everybody, the concern of everybody was the war and how to get rid of it and how to fight against it and how to avoid this destruction and all these things, They make of course, the regime made the most of it, but the people were participating. 8 years of war was sufficient, absolutely enough, in order to make the society very different. And one of the analyses on this war is really that this the war who decided the regime to stay in place, not the force of the regime. The war has helped the regime to stay as it. Okay, we can be disagreeable. I'm not coming here to agree with anybody. I'm just coming here to present my analysis because you ask a question. But here you are absolutely unjust because the war is an affair of everybody in Iranian society. I finish my talk and you come back in after maybe another person. Violence against the women, you can talk more and more. I was not talking about violence in Iranian society. Absolutely not. No.
Please, we don't need etc. So you will have your turn. So don't reply, please.
Yes, sorry. I will finish. Really, alhamdulillah, you will have time and enough even after the talk. I was not talking about what the regime has exercised violence against women and all these things. That's another issue. I was talking about how the women get advantage of the new rules in order to enlarge their integration or their public sphere in the Iranian society. One thing is to talk about authoritarianism, method of the regime to impose the veil. Another thing is to talk about the person who was submitted to this rule that the regime imposed. The veil was used by the ladies. It's survival. It's an issue of survival. You are absolutely right if you want to open an issue on the violence. I wasn't talking about that. But how the ladies enlarge their, using this moment to enlarge their public spheres, to straighten it, and to remain as energetic as they are in Iranian society, that when we talk about femme, liberté, women, life and liberty, really that for me is a sequences that follow other sequences of this presence of energetic women in the public sphere. Before them it was 1 million signature by other group who was working against all this discrimination, legal, religious, social. Yeah, Iran is a patriarchal society, so the discrimination is not just the fact that a power imposed you, not even just because religion, but you have other discrimination. You know, the ladies who come to Tehran from suburb or from other provinces come to Tehran, they say, I came to find liberty. Come to Tehran to find liberty is magnificence, you know, because they just fled the domination of their family, of the clanic big family, of the region where they are sitting. They come, you know, Anonyma of Tehran help these people to find themselves absolutely in other place. You are in the center of the power, you know, in other place, because 20 million inhabitants are living there, and there is, of course, presence of guard and the, how do you say it, the police, the moral police and all these things, but you feel better in liberty in Tehran than in your own region. So that is for violence. So I think you are just, again, with your vocabulary, a little bit unjust, because I wasn't talking about that. The veil was compulsory, of course. You know, it's not a discovery now these days. You know, there's nothing new. I think these people are not here to know the veil was discovered. Everybody know about that. If I am here, just to know how does it work. 45 years of regime, but nobody asked it. Nobody asked it in terms of social movement. The last election we had was Pezeshkian. You know, 49 people has participation of 49% of population, okay? No one vote on bail. So you want just to understand. I want just to understand that's a way to enter the matter. There is another way to enter the matter. So I think the floor, as you say, is open. So I want to know why the bail didn't make part of all this mobilization, a claim and resurgence or another revolution, because why not? I agree. Of course I agree. Compulsory bail. Well, how does it work? No other country has imposed that. No other. Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco, Saudi Arabia. No, Saudi Arabia is not a country. Afghanistan, Pakistan. No other country had put it in the not constitutional law, not civil law, but just in penal law. How do you say penal?
Criminal law.
Criminal law. Just criminal law. How they put it in criminal law. And it does work, it still does work. That's the only thing. Really, I have not any other claim, Elhamjan. Any other. I'm not telling is good life, is bad life. It's not my job. Not for here. I am just presenting the result of the research. I'm so sorry to disappoint you, but that is the fact.
Thank you.
Not the last question.
No.
So sorry. For Musa Sadra, thank you again. And then, that's what I was telling about the circulation of ulama, that for Iranian, their participation to the revolution, to the constitutional revolution, to the nationalist movement, and all these things. For the Afghan, by reinventing a new model of religiosity or religious education in Afghanistan, really they copy in Iranian, their experience in Iran helped them to copy the Iranian model and to put it in Afghanistan, and it was absolutely, receiving, absolutely, you had the religious class because education was important.
It's like you meant they're giving a sample or a model that they can apply here. Okay.
Exactly, and with that they got to the power. Really, the power of Hazara, who was absolutely underestimated before the occupation of Russia, and then after the return, after the coming back of after the not coming back, the integration of American, they stopped Taliban, and then Hazara went back to Afghanistan, and at that sense, they became absolutely a very important key issue in the political spectrum in Afghanistan, through all this very religious school. And so for Musa Saad, what I was telling. So Musa Saad came to Iran, to Lebanon. It was during 60, they have decided to send ulama outside. Two of them works, Hamburg and Lebanon. Khatami come from this place of Hamburg. And for Musa Saad in Lebanon, it was very interesting because very soon he had problem with another clergy in Iran who was very mobilized in Islamic movement and all these things, because nobody accepted his way of being with non-Shia, with Christian, with Sunni, and all these things. He had a very modern way he had to deal with them. So, but what he has created in Lebanon became a national part. It's not linked to Iran. It's not a proxy of Iran. It's make part of national movement.
Yeah, and this is a misconception in Lebanon. Like they think we were bringing like the identity of another country. It's like just applying certain rules to what is suitable here.
Yeah, that was what I was just mentioning by this circulation of ulama that bring you in. You have this scenery that you weren't expected. National movement in Iran, getting to the power for Afghans in Afghanistan, and another movement that, just playing in the game of national history in Lebanon. So you're not expecting that from the ulama, because the way people talk about ummah and all in Arabic.
Yeah,
She is
okay.
an artist. That is as if you are submitting, suggest.
Yeah.
Can we take another round? Yeah. So just I want to highlight the presence of our chair, Blake Outwood, who did his PhD about the cinema in Iran. So we'll have time this evening to be together, but definitely he has something to say. Okay, so Ahmed. And I know my student in the class, I mean, read you very bad, so I'm expecting people to also to raise questions. Ahmed, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna try to be brief. I'm not a student in the class, so I haven't read the book, but it's a great honor to hear you talk and present. Thank you so much. My question is relevant to the concept of passion. Even with recent standoffs and acts of social movements or what have you, in the signs, in the words, and even in the culture, be it in Shiraz, if you're listening to street music, or even in Mashhad, you get a sense of a certain type of passion for life, passion for intellectual knowledge, passion for intimacy, passion for connection with others that's unique. And it's the first time that I hear religion described as or related to movement, circulation, transformation in this way, and I'm very grateful, which made me think relevant linking passion with the revolution, with anti-imperialism, but also today passion as anti-individualism, which made me think, relating back to movement, circulation, and transformation, of the very weighty and beautiful culture that there is. You mentioned slightly Ibn Arabi in your talk, but there was if you enlarge the time scale a bit, or enlarge the sphere, if we're talking about circulation, you had a movement and a circulation between Persia, but then Cordoba, بعدين Persia again. I'm talking about Avicenna, I'm talking about Suhrawardi, Ibn Arabi, and then Mullah Sadra and the school of Isfahan, and then Lebanese, Jabal Amil, Al-Amili family in the 15th and the 14th century in the school of Isfahan, and then Mullah Sadra, and then I don't know if you know Henry Corbin. So have you ever, I don't know if you write about this, but have you ever looked at it with a larger sphere, this circulation, in terms of modern day passion in Iran and in that culture? Not only in Iran, in South Lebanon.
That is something.
We will collect to put.
It's a question about the introduction that we read for your book. Actually, thank you for the talk. I was just wondering about the point you made in the introduction about the empowerment of women during the pilgrimage. So, empowerment of women. You made like several main points about the commodification, empowerment of women, individualization, and so on. So about the women aspect, I was just wondering, what's the correlation here exactly between? This is so close. What's the correlation between them being on this trip and doing this religious exercise and them being empowered? Because a certain paragraph struck me. You were describing kind of anecdotally that people were sitting around and a cart pulled a mule and they started laughing. The women started laughing and then they took a ride and they were laughing and singing. And of course there was disapproval around the crew, but no one could say a thing about it. So first I'm wondering, why does this kind of setting empower them? And in what sense? Because I don't claim that I'm an expert on Iran, but I would assume that usually religion would do the opposite sometimes and not empower them. So I'm wondering why they're being empowered here. And my second point is that why the people who disapprove of it, who are probably more traditional. Why couldn't they do anything about it? Like, why weren't they commenting, or were they trying to like maybe repress or stop this untraditional or unconventional way of them, how they were acting? So I was just wondering. Thank you.
Because, you know, I cannot write the question. I can
go
forget
ahead.
it.
Yeah,
Sorry,
go
I'm so
ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
You know, I am really not equal to your expectation, because I'm not, absolutely not this as intelligent as I should be. As anthropologist, I didn't take in consideration this kind of very interesting question. Absolutely, I think your question is very good. And I cannot answer say anything about that, about this patient. And you put, the way you put together Ibn Arabi and Henry Corbin is very interesting way to discuss the issue, really. I love it. But it's not in my capacity to talk about that, to answer your question. Thank you very much, Olivier. And for you...
You know, there is an amazing movement between Sufism and some spiritual trend in Shiism. And Mullah Sodra, for instance, it was a bridger. You have 2-3 figures here in Lebanon who play a role on connecting Sufism to spiritual movement in Shia.
Yeah. And for your question, you know, first of all, the voyage, the trip to Hajj was the trip for men. So pilgrimage become an affair of women with Syria, you know. Internal pilgrimage are not as important as external, you know. So for the first time, you see a lot of women make part of it, more than men. And there are travel that are organizing by women for women. That is absolutely new. It means, but I wanted to say, to what extent religious practices give the possibility just to change the whole atmosphere. So to make part, to go without your family, without your children, to make part of this, and it is legitimate. The legitimacy because a religious pilgrimage, and now you are getting together with other friends which do not make part of the family. That is the first thing that show there is something, you know, with this traveling. And by this moment you are describing by these ladies who were just making fun. You know, I am with the ladies who are about between 60 and 70. So, and all veiled, very traditional veil. So they are surrendered by, we are in a pompe à essence. Pompe à essence. Petroleum station.
Petrol station, gas station.
We are in a gas station, so there are a lot of men.
Gas station.
So just do as they did, really, just to have fun. People are just, you know, very concerned about petrol, and there is just a stop, not more than that. But these people are living for themselves, for the joy, for what they want. We are coming back anyway. So, and starting to sing, you know. You are in traditional society, you are in pilgrimage. So there is a chant, we call it as a Bourdieu say, there is a chant that you are expected to act in some way. But they are doing as if they are whatever the place and whatever the reason for what they are and whatever they age and whatever they believe and something, this was transgressing all the code you have in mind from this very traditional and very popular also, you know, if you are rich, you have more possibility. So it was that. Maybe I'm not enough explicit to make you, that is really, they knew that they have some enemies in front of them. They acted as they wanted, knowing that, okay, they are in a very patriarchal society that they should take. Yeah.
Exactly. So they did act as they want. So my question is, if you found or if you analyzed why they feel that it's okay to do so, is it because they feel the transcendent after the trip? So
No, it's outside. They are out of norms. You know, they are not in Iranian society. It's a tourism. They are just kind of, you know.
Freer.
Yeah, it's in taste of holiday. You just break down all limits you have. So that is getting inside. Yeah, that's kind of my analysis. But of course, we can go further. You are right. Thank you.
Ahmed Ali.
First, thank you for the presentation and for the insightful answers. During the discussion around the power of the state and the power of the religion, men and the ulama, it came to my mind the example of the Jihad al-Bina, which I don't know how it was named in Persian, but during the Iran-Iraq war, when Khomeini made a call for the Iranian youth to participate in the development and to volunteer in the development and reconstruction for the peripheries and the poorer areas. Initially, I would think about it as a way to create more parallel and alternative institutions in the state, and I would have a lot of comments around the rhetoric of shifting the responsibilities from the state toward the individuals. But now, after what you said about the war and how it was like the war again, it was related to everyone. How do you evaluate this example? If you have anything to say about my other. You evaluate this example, this case of Jihad al-Bina.
It's a kind of movement that called everyone to participate in the construction after the Iraqi-Iranian war.
I'm thinking about it from the angle of how religion, or how you can mobilize people toward such causes, but through religion, not through social responsibility, more like causes. I have another question regarding the pilgrims. Do you have any comments on how the rituals changed and shifted during the past 15 years? And there's a kind of comparison between the rituals during the peaceful times versus during the times of war, especially when it comes to Syria. We saw a lot of examples in the past years how the rituals have been more aggressive, more expressive, and how it changed to be, and for some people some people say it shifted more to be more extreme and more affected by the cultures from mid-Asia, like from Afghanistan, Pakistan, or India. So coming through the talk, I was thinking of, like, before you may be looking about the case as from Iran to Syria, but now we're seeing Iran is in the middle of this road, maybe from India to Pakistan to Afghanistan to Iran to Iraq to Syria. So there's a lot of things that changed in the past years. So do you have any observation or comments you can tell about it?
I see online Professor Abdi Kazanpour. He was visiting here. And Abdi Kazanpour wrote a book about religiosity in Iran. Abdi, do you have any comment, question to Fariba?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
No, I just wanted to thank you, Sari, and thank you, Dr. Adel for providing a forum for a great conversation. There are lots of interesting stuff that we can talk about later, but I think the time is limited and we are at or 7 o'clock in the morning as well. So,
My God, yeah, he is in
Thank you.
Calgary. So
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so go ahead, and actually we are. I mean, you will reply, and we'll wrap up. Yeah, so go ahead.
Still.
Yeah, yeah. So
You know, as anthropology is on the fact you have, it's just in the context, it happens, and you work on without thinking about and if, and you're just without conditions. So the form aggressive, no, as I was telling to you that all these pilgrims are coming in the name of God, but what is going on is more than that. You are businessman, you are family gathering, you have family gathering, tourism, going out of the country, having access to something that others, neighbors has. In any case, I don't. Of course, a state can give. Put some attraction on that, because this trip is not at all expensive. It wasn't. These days I do not know, because taking a plane is very expensive. So there was kind of subside, we call it, the subside. Étatique aide, les aides de l'État. Subside. The subsidy.
No, subsidized. Subsidies.
Yeah,
subsidies.
There is kind of
subsidies.
Yeah, exactly.
State subsidies.
There is some state subsidies on this kind of travel, but it does not explain at all this competition between region to show they to be more present, or to collaborate, or the participation. There is a lot of initiative to make part of these. You are not just going; you just do a lot. For example, you can hear one person who did the levée, just is a religious desire to say, okay, if my desire is realized, I will offer 1,000 falafel in Arba'in, All this way people invest on that. So they go, of course, we never forget the attraction made by the state, but you have, alongside of that, absolutely other energy, and you cannot think about these people obliged to do that. Going to Arba'in is, for example, kind of things that happen that is interesting, because never the Islamic Republic is interested to know more about that. I say it, I hope it's not having the implication. For the young people who cannot have the relationship in Iran because they are not, for example, married. So you're just going through the border, you find your friend the other side, you take her hand, and you do the Arba'in together. So nobody is there to say, okay, whether you are married or not, because at least nobody asks to anybody else, what is your relationship? So it is becoming a land of possible. Business possible, relationship, affective, patient relationship, and investment, of course, that is the most important thing. But you have the legitimacy of the religion, but once it's finished, you are there. You act as you are. I mean, you are never you are not locked up this logic of legitimacy. You are just living. You are doing what a tourist can do, and you are returning back with history, with all these things you can share with others. So I think I forget the first part of your question. Sorry. The only thing, the most important, that they are not feeling obliged at that. So it's easy to get access to that. And then?
The first question was about if you have any comment on the case of Jihad al-Bina in Iran during the...
they comment because it is, it brings some political class over there. But they made a kind of, we call it brotherness between Mashhad and Najaf. So there is now a movement between Mashhad and Najaf that is very important. The Mashhadi give the authorization, accept the investment of Iraqi, and the Iraqi accept the investment of Mashhadi. But you can find this kind of brotherhoodness between cities. For example, I think between Columbia and Sciences Po in Paris. You can think of all this facility that is created, but the state is not implicated. But you can say in Iran, a state is implicated in everything. So you can, of course, think about that. But at least because the interests, material interests, become more important, nobody wants to share it with nobody else, at least not with the state. So it's created some sphere of autonomy because of the important investment, economic investment. And it's created also because this brotherhoodness between city, some difference between, my English was at the end become a little bit helpless. I'm so sorry, but nothing else. And the Jihad al-Bana, really, I am going to be not very good researcher. I haven't heard about that. We are not supposed to construct by duty Iraq. It's not a duty of Irani who go there. It is.
But are you talking, Muhammad Ali, Jihad al-Bina in Iraq? Or
I'm not talking about Jihad al-Bina like the developmental agency they have. It was first a call for the youth to volunteer to support the villages and the cities that are affected by the war. So
it's a message. It's not an institution.
It's more of
because here in Lebanon it's an institution called Jihad al-Bina. But what he is mentioning, actually, I was confused myself. I thought it's an institution. No, it's just a message. I mean that youth should volunteer to construct these destroyed cities after the war.
And I'm not sure if it was volunteer or if they were obliged by religion, and if it was a kind of a fatwa or something. But I'm curious about the case. No problem.
That people go to Iraq for constructing by construction.
No, it's in Iran. It was during the war in response to the war.
Iran-Iraq war, not the war after Iraq.
My question is just around the comparison between the state and the religion, has more influence to mobilize the people. So when there came call from the religious leader, people want to do it. And that's why I was thinking about the case.
Zena wanted to say something about this topic?
Of course.
Can you be in the microphone?
Okay.
You need to be in the microphone.
The only thing...
Go to microphone, please.
Sorry, I'm just finished with the just the only thing, there was not really Jihad al-Bana after the war, like that, the reconstruction. The reconstruction took place in the institutional way. And it is not constructed, not yet. It's another tragedy, so I'm not going to that. But the young were pushed to go to protect nation against Iraq, but not pushed to go in order to reconstruct the border for the nation, something like that. Okay.
Zena?
Thank you for your presentation. It was very interesting. I wanted to ask you, do people who are not religious, do they have some visibility in the public sphere?
Iran is a republic Islamic.
Yeah.
So you have Christian in the parliament, you have Jewish in the parliament, you have Zoroastrian in the parliament, but it's very limited things. You have no place for no religious faith, when you do not have, atheist, yeah. For example, the lady who convert to Christianism, for example, and they are normally very important in the north of Iran, and the reason is not easy to explain now. I found them with myself in the jail, for example. They were, or the Baha'i who have another kind of religion, could be in live under Persian and finish in the jail. So the expression of religiosity out of Shiism has a lot of problem, but people do not express their belief because they are not express their sexuality. This is something people just put aside. Everybody talk about their religiosity, the religious practices in Iran, that is less and less important. That is not very important. People do not go to the church, to the mosque. But again, this study was done in France, for example, by Hervieux Léger. When people do not go to the church, it doesn't mean they are not Christian. So you need other kind of researcher to know what is the relationship.
Actually, the last book, Kuzampour, is really to show how religiosity go down and down in Iran, how secularization from below is going on. But this doesn't mean that people are not...
Absolutely doesn't mean anything, because for example, in jail you can find a lot of people who are not belonging to the official Islam, we call it, but they have other way of explaining their faith. I didn't really find people without faith anyway, without believing. Maybe the leftists put aside the religious, but talking about that, no, not really normally. So there is no institutional possibility to express your faith out of Islam, absolutely not. That is Islamic regime, and even not because, it's for the Sunnite, for example. The Sunnite represent about 15% of the population of Iranian Muslim. So Iran is a 90% Muslim. So between 10, 15, depends on who is talking about, you can have the Sunnite people. So for the Sunnite also, that is a country with a strong belonging to Shiism and a strong belonging to Persian languages. So you have this problem of marginal or the ethnicity, that they are not Persian speaker and they are not Shia. And for example, you can talk about the politics,
From Arabistan. Yeah.
So to get to the power for a lady these days, the ladies are absolutely out of a political institution. The Council of Experts, the Council of Expediency, the Council of Conseil the Conseil Guardian of the Constitution. There is no lady. You can even not expect one day to get to the power of nor the guide, neither the President of the Republic. But for the Sunnite, it's exactly the same, that this place or not. So there is a lot of talk about the negotiation about that, but this place are absolutely locked up to Shia believers. So that is.
It's time to conclude. Let me remind you, Paul Lazarsfeld, once he wrote, if you know that China is governed by a communist regime, this doesn't explain why Chinese doesn't drink milk. And I think this is the beauty of your anthropology, Fariba, that this omnipresent authoritarian regime in Iran cannot explain the whole dynamics Iranian society has, and that we anthropologists, sociologists will be very sensitive to see all these dynamics. Exactly like I when I taught in Birzeit in Palestine, I asked my student once where I found that they explain everything by Israel, that why Ramallah is X or Y, because so I told them I need to I give them a research assignment, and I said I don't need you were right without mentioning Israel at all. I mean, just think about Palestinian society. And I think really observing your work about a very contentious regime like Iranian regime, and I grew up in Syria. I am political sociologist at origin. I am very sensitive to the question of authoritarianism. I think you succeed to show us this dynamics without being completely blind by this the repression. I mean, how people manage despite this repression, and women find their way, etc. And I think your work and the work of Nazanin Shahrouki, I mean, she was a visiting professor here. I mean, joined. I mean, each other in describing this complexity of the woman situation. I mean, one of the topics you work on it in Iran. Okay.
Sorry, you make me a big pleasure to say that, because what I wanted to give you, it was just a windows on the as you'd say dynamic society. It is energy of this society, but not at all really neglect the authoritarianism and the repression and all these things, but to ask the question why it lasts so long. That is something we are supposed to ask ourselves. So when we say complicated, it's not easy, it's not enough. But this complexity, just the windows on this situation, people are trying to live without reducing themselves to the vision of the power. That is something I wanted to do. I hope I was a little bit.
And those who are francophone and want to hear amazing piece of ethnography about the prison, I invite you tomorrow to come to San Jose. So thank you so much. Yeah. So I didn't see it. Where is it? I don't see it. No. Okay. In any case, we are over time. No, but I don't see it. Okay. So there is a question in the chat. Yeah. Go ahead. I thought somebody.
No, in the chat.
Yeah. Please. Can you read it?
So, if you were in the place of politicians or decision makers who make decisions in the name of religion in Iran, what are some of the decisions you would modify or cancel?
This is for 2 more hours, but I mean in 2 minutes.
Oh, but sorry, I'm not a politician, and I don't desire to be one day. But the Constitution is locked up today. You know, you cannot have any evaluation of politician action of the politicians. You know, nobody have the possibility to ask question to the guide of the revolution and the institution which depends to him. And that is a very big issue, the whole constitution. But again, what I want to say, this constitution lasts from 1967 because it was re-evaluated, reformed. So how, if you can believe in 12 imam that manage this society, but how could it work? How is possible to work with these things? Yeah, that is.
Thank you so much, Fariba. and
you.
hopefully to see you on another